Welcome to Insture, your virtual classroom. This lesson is about responding to the need to differentiate and apply intervention. Our objectives for this lesson are to define key terms, differentiate and intervention, recognize when differentiation and intervention are needed before, during, and after a lesson. Use available information to plan and execute future lessons, and evaluate and share this Insture lesson with others. Let us take a careful look at the key terms in this lesson topic. First of all, respond means to say or do something in reply or as a reaction. Therefore, responding, which is a present participle form of respond, simply means that you keep doing it. That is, you keep reacting. Therefore, as a teacher, you must be on the lookout while teaching for the opportunity or sign that indicates that you need to react or do something about students' activities or even the lack of activity in your class. Again, we need to look at the word need. In this context, it simply means that it is essential or necessary that you reply or take action. In this lesson, you shall know when and how this need or necessity arises. Let us get it clear right now that this need or necessity that you expect to react or respond to on an ongoing basis while teaching is done through differentiation or intervention, or perhaps both. And I really need to stress this point and for you to remember it. So let us repeat. Differentiate means to recognize or identify as different, distinguish, or simply cause something to appear different. How does this relate to your lesson? It means that when you are planning your lesson, you should have a different activity for some persons in your class. To apply in this context means to bring into operation or use. Intervention is the name given to the process when you improve or fix something to make it better. So, when we repeat the most important parts of this topic, it means that the need to differentiate and apply intervention means to react to the necessity to do something different or use whatever resources you have available in fixing the problem or making the situation improved or better. If you have an idea of your students' abilities, you can attempt to differentiate and intervene while planning your lesson. And this manner of planning will allow the students to learn what you are teaching faster or at a greater rate. As you do this, you are removing barriers to learning. We will now look at some key concepts in the framework of the National Standards Curriculum, NSC. We have the depth of knowledge objectives, which are from level 1 to 4. Level 1, recall. Level 2, skill and concepts. Level 3, strategic thinking. And level 4, extended thinking. We also have the 5E pedagogy, which are engage, explain, explore, extend or elaborate, and evaluate. Remember that each lesson must begin with engage, which is a stage at which you motivate students and help them to develop interest in whatever you plan to teach. And evaluate is the section of your lesson where you come to a close and you are summarizing and checking that learning has taken place. You are really looking at some activities that would reinforce the value of your lesson. The domains: knowledge or cognitive, skills or psychomotor, attitude or affective. These three areas are critical for each lesson. And then we have the 4 C's of the 21st century, which are creativity, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. These areas are to be embedded in your activities. So we have the DOK levels, we have the 5E pedagogy, we have the domains of learning, and we have the 4 C's of the 21st century. And now we are going to explore the need to differentiate and apply intervention in 2 evaluation activities written by a teacher. In this grade 3 mathematics lesson, the teacher evaluated the results. The teacher said the students were mostly interactive, willing to answer and participate in the activities. However, some students were not able to follow the entire lesson because of poor connectivity. A few of the students also got the wrong answers because, although they wrote the numbers from the chart, the digits were not accurately aligned. When we look at the different parts of the evaluation done by the teacher, we will now be able to recognize where intervention and differentiation are needed. The first part of the evaluation says the students were mostly interactive, willing to answer and participate in the activities. So we can see that at that stage of the lesson, there was readiness. The students wanted to learn. They were already interested in learning. The second part says, however, some students were not able to follow the entire lesson because of poor connectivity. You guessed it right. It was an online lesson. And so there is a need for intervention at this point. The third point says, a few of the students also got the wrong answers because they were writing the numbers from the chart and the digits were not accurately aligned. Here we have the need for intervention as well as differentiation. Let us look at what are some of the things that could have been done for intervention. The students could be given the lesson objectives at the start of the lesson, along with the topic, ensuring that all ideas are understood. The teacher could also have given the pages of the textbooks or workbooks or online source before the main activities began. Students can work offline and get scaffolding from other siblings or adults. So in this case, it could have been done before, based on the experience of the teacher, that an online lesson can get disrupted. The teacher can give these things before. But if this happens during the lesson, the teacher can plan to do it at the next lesson. Give the students an option to contact the teacher, whether by text, email, or a location to submit finished work, or just to get feedback while working on tasks. The teacher also evaluated that a few of the students also got the wrong answers. So we had said that intervention as well as differentiation are necessary in this part of her evaluation. So when we look at these numbers, we see that they are not aligned. The teacher says that the students did not align the numbers. And so when we look at that, we can see just how easy it is to calculate the wrong answer because the digits are out of place. So they should have been aligned like this. And the teacher should take steps to remind the students how to align the digits. The teacher can use a place value chart ahead of giving the work to be done to remind them how alignment is to be done. Or she can remind them, or he can remind them that it is to be done while they are working. Some students are able to calculate mentally from this alignment of problem. They can just look at the numbers and take them and align them for themselves. But many students are not able to do that. So the teacher needs to give the numbers in an alignment form. And that's where differentiation comes in. Because those students who are struggling with the concepts of place value will get help by giving them the numbers in a place value chart. Very important to have correct calculation of numbers. To the language arts evaluation, the teacher said, I believe that it was a good lesson due to the high level of participation. About 50% 50% of the class enrollment was present. Therefore, the supporting teacher will send work to the parents or caregivers of those students. It was observed that many of the students are not able to spell sight words, struggle with reading SJE, and also are not sure when to use is and are in sentences. Some of them took too much time to write, which caused the lesson to go over time. Right away, as we look at this teacher's evaluation, we can see that there are some areas where grammatical errors are evident. And as teachers, we must be very careful to strengthen our own grammatical competencies. Again, we see that the class had readiness. The students were ready to learn. She says, I believe it was a good lesson due to the high level of participation. However, 50% of the class enrollment was present. So action is needed right there. As we can see in this part of the evaluation, the students had many issues related to language use. So, if the students are struggling with sight words, struggling to read standard English, are not aware of the being verbs is and are and how they should be used in sentences, the teacher can do several things. For example, develop students' sight word vocabulary, play word games as part of the lesson, plan spelling competitions, teach spelling rules and exceptions, use pictures to teach multiple meaning words, use read aloud activities, and intervene when students stumble over words. Asking them to spell repeatedly are some of the solutions. The teacher should review or reteach subject and verb agreement, which we call concord, using the present tense existence verbs is, are, and other verbs of the being verb family in several contexts. Again, another problem that the teacher recorded was the length of time that students took to write down from the chart or the board. This caused the lesson to go over time, and so it is difficult to achieve all objectives if the lesson is going over time and you have to stop teaching. So then, a solution would be to set up incentives for slow writing students, meaningful rewards for finishing within a given time. And so the time could be adjusted from time to time to increase the pace at which they write. This is an intervention action. The teacher can also plan work cards or worksheets or reading tasks, or leave a side of the whiteboard free for competent students to move on, while you monitor the slower students, which is differentiation in activities. Differentiated instruction is necessary. It may come in the objectives as well as the activities that students get. Differentiation should include varied activities, online and offline learning activities. Students' interests and abilities should be considered when you are planning your lessons. Different tasks should be given. Assessments should be varied. And in the NSC pedagogy, we have formative and summative assessments. Assessment that is formative takes place during the lesson. It means that while you are teaching, you are doing an assessment of the skills that the students are expected to acquire. Varying methodology to facilitate instructional content and transfer of skills should be utilized, and direct instruction, as in modeling, guided practice, and independent practice, should be employed. All of these are part of making your lessons differentiated. When planning a lesson, it takes time. It means that you must know your students that you are planning to teach. It also means that you must know the curriculum you are using. It requires dedicated and continuous research. It requires you to utilize available resources and even recycling waste materials. For the 21st century learner means that you need to be creative and incorporate technologies as much as possible. And you must always respond to the need to differentiate and apply intervention. This lesson is about responding to the need to differentiate and apply intervention. You are listening to it and observing the different parts in Instuary, your virtual classroom. Remember to watch this lesson again and recommend it to your friends.